What a great idea it is to mimic the IPL, control it completely, and then sort of get foreigners and others who are not so well versed with the cricket or whatever to bet on it. It's a win-win.
I don't have to say it, but yeah, I've said it many times. This is one of the few stories where you really, really want the bad guys to win because it's just so creative. And it's international, so it's in a very subversive way. I was like, India has arrived. Like, villagers in India are duping like Russian gamblers and,
You got the Gujarati gali spot on, huh?
Yeah.
I'll only use Gil Chodia, which is acceptable. A couple of them are too strong for our podcast. But is that the wife calling you on a daily basis, or you just pick that up from listening to people?
I picked that up from listening to people, not from my wife or anybody from our
Not
family.
yet. Early marriage.
Yeah. And as an Indian, you're like, this is not IPL. Like, how foolish are they? So I then spoke with psychologists and all that, where they say that, the sattebaz, the gamblers, I mean, part of it is they're driven by betting on exotic things that they don't understand and they don't control. Like, it's okay to, cricket and you'll do your calculations and that's a different high. But imagine something you don't understand and you don't control. You bet on it and you win some money. That's a different high.
So how much you make last year? After glorious experience of going into the Big Boss house, we thought we'd get you Pooja Bhatt and by default Mahesh Bhatt as well. Then Alia Bhatt. All three of them come from the same sort of family. Couldn't do that, but we've got you Abhishek Bhatt, which is bigger and above all these others. What do you say? Fair?
I'm honored. Yeah,
Fair point?
I'm in good company. I'm honored. Yes.
Okay, Abhishek has got traces of an American accent, so you might think it's Amit Doshi talking from time to time. It's not. We'll actually talk a little bit about your life, I think, for a few minutes so people can set that up and then get into this wonderful book, which you're carrying on your chest. We're carrying here, talk about branding. That's our show.
Sorry about being shameless. Yes.
There you go. Indian Punter League.
Yeah.
With, I think, Vimla. The picture of the lady is that Vimla viral.
Yeah, that is Vimla viral. That is correct.
Aren't too many females in the book, so I remember that immediately. And I presume that's Fezal.
Yes.
On the right.
That is correct.
I hate to use the word nipple. I'll use the word pectoral. In the left pectoral.
Yes.
Divided by 2.
Yeah.
And then there's a cow there, and I've been told to ask the cow story. Is there a hidden meaning to the cow story?
It's a very cliched answer, but really this time you've got to read the book to figure out why is there a cow. Because I've been asked, that's the number one question I've been asked. I was at the airport, we were reading, and I'm like, why is there a cow? It's not that...
I heard it's so that nobody touches the book in a bad way. It's a safe thing to do.
Serves a dual purpose. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, all right. So we'll get into that. But first, let's go back into life and talk about Abhishek's life itself before writing and etc. Just give us a little bit... pretend this is like a Miss India contest and they want to know more about you.
Yeah, no, I was born in India. I spent a lot of time in...
Are you a Bombay boy?
Not really. I've been a pan-Indian boy.
Okay.
A lot of time in Gujarat. Born in Rajasthan, spent time in Gujarat.
We'll get to that in a second because the geography of Gujarat is exposed in such a way that it looks like you know your Gujarat properly. Is that so or is that research?
It is. It is so that I know, and then a lot of research of just actually going and meeting people who were involved. But I was familiar with the space. And then I spent my college years in Pune for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Worked in Bombay with Ogilvy, with Piyush Pandey.
Oh, nice. Hence the black shirt.
And not the mustache. But
were you one of the guys who laughs at every joke? That's the top 5 who stand next to him and he tells his stories.
Well, yeah. So I wasn't one of the guys, but I was outside the room just hearing them all laugh and try to match his laugh, which they failed. But
that's true.
And then I spent some time in TV here in Star News for a while.
Okay.
And then moved to Singapore for Sony Pictures. Mm-hmm. Spent about 12 years there. Exploring Southeast Asia, doing business in China and Thailand and all those countries that were like slowly coming up. So I had a bit of a sales job in there as well. Mm-hmm. And then moved to New York.
This is still with Sony?
This is now with CNBC. So NBC Universal, we're part of this big group.
Yeah.
So
I love that building in New York. When I was there for 4 months, it would be one of the places we'd go and just look.
Yeah, the Rockefeller
Center and then
Well, you know what? It's a good building for tourists, but not if you're working there. It's
Really?
a bit of a hassle to get in, and like you're at work and you see people in shorts and with pictures and all of that, so you're kind of annoyed.
So in the late 90s, I saw Conan O'Brien going in. But of course, nobody bothers.
Yeah.
It's so different from our celebrities. There's just another blonde guy walking, tall fellow, and somebody says Conan, that's it.
That is
Nothing
true.
more.
That's true. Now and now it's Jimmy Fallon going.
Yeah,
in
fair
there,
enough. But I'm
so-
just thinking if it's an Indian superstar or big star,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way he could walk in casually with his. I mean, there was no minders. There's nobody with him. He had like a coat on. He looked like a marketing guy. Nothing else. He just walked in.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is true. That is true. Although some of the SNL staff do get that reaction because they every now and then have the biggest, Timothy
Stage.
Chalamet or whoever.
Right.
So they, girls and boys do line up and scream, which is good for them.
So not a great experience for you, is it?
Not going and work in that environment, like crossing the Hudson. I live in New Jersey.
Oh,
a
right.
long drive.
This is the Indian Desi experience, huh?
Yeah.
New Jersey living, New York working.
Well, yeah,
hate
because
the job.
yeah,
Huh.
part of our office is also in Englewood Cliffs, which is New Jersey. So I spent like a
Is
split
this
my
anywhere
time
next to the
between
famous Jackson Heights?
that. Yeah, and then there's like the tax rate is like 3% lower in New Jersey. So
Indians!
that is Desi.
We
yes,
know
that
how
is
to find
correct.
it, bro. Nobody in California now. No Desis left there.
Yeah.
50% tax there.
Exactly. I'm halfway there because
Yeah.
the smartest Indians live in Pennsylvania and drive
Oh, is
like
it?
2 hours to New York, New Jersey. Low
What is
property
that
tax.
for like a guy from Mumbai or Delhi or something? This is just normal, man. 2
Yeah,
hours
exactly.
to commute. What's the big deal?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm questioning my own life decisions of living in New Jersey now. Yes.
Fair enough. So now we're there, is it?
Yeah.
You settled. So you're a proper New Yorker now.
Not proper. I mean,
not gonna
I'm
come back
okay.
now,
Yeah,
it's unlikely.
I still feel I miss
Could be
Singapore.
Delhi, Hindustan. Oh, Singapore.
Yeah, I
India
know why.
cancelled.
No, sorry, India to hai. India to hai.
Went to Singapore. That's
But I
fine.
think the
Yeah.
longest I've stayed in a city is Singapore. Like if you consider Singapore as
Love
a city.
Singapore.
So yeah, I do miss it. I mean,
Yeah.
it spoils you. That whole
If you like everything go on time, everything to be planned and done, I'm good with
yes,
that. I love
yes,
it. Yeah.
pampers you a lot. I had a rough time in New York for a while. My wife and I,
Yeah.
we were like, "What is this?" Like we have to drive,
Yeah.
and things are
So where do you
closed.
park? That's a big question.
Yes. So the good thing is, like the work perks, there is
You got parking?
available for. Yes.
The joke is that you got to get the parking first before the job. It's like
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
literally,
It is.
Yeah.
It's the first line item saying, "This is your offer letter, parking free." I'm like,
Wow.
I'm sold. Yeah.
All right, let's get to the book, which is the main thing. So this begins like a hobby for you actually, and then because you're obviously doing really well, you're in New York, you had high flying jobs with huge MNCs.
Mm-hmm.
So this comes. When did the writing bug happen?
It happened slowly. I started writing. In college, somebody told me, one of our professors, saying, "Oh, you should write." I'm like, "Okay, this is good." I didn't do anything with that for 10 years, and then slowly started with short stories. Like I used to, like any young writer, big on sci-fi and all that. So some of the stories did get accepted in some of the well-known publications, and then finally, I'm like, I need to at least attempt
I think the
to do a
first
novel.
publication which takes you on, then you sort of think, okay, maybe I've got something.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It tells you that it's got something. Like
Yeah.
you cannot. I'm not deluded.
Neutral publication is saying, I want to put you on. So
Yes.
that means it's of
It
some
means a
value.
lot. It's so funny because I was just I was in LA with Team USA Olympians just last week, and these are like top athletes, and we're talking to them, and they said every one of them. I had like one question. So when did you think that you can be the best or be at the Olympic level? And he's like, they all talk about just one minor thing, just like this. Oh, a small publication did this, or a small event. I came first, and I thought there's something in there. So I felt the same, saying if somebody accepts your work, somebody who's not your family or your wife or your father says it's good, it gives you something that, okay, this is not delusion. You should give it a try. So then it was then after that, it was just about how much time can I give to this. Luckily, I've been I have a supportive family. My wife, they carved out like 2 hours a day somehow for
So
me.
writing discipline.
Exactly. I could never, I never believe I would be that disciplined
Yeah,
guy.
see what he's standing behind you with like a sticks.
Exactly. Or more about like just shut the door, leave him alone, let him do what. So once I really got the 2 hours a day in, I had a novel.
So why cricket then? Was that why would you go there? Did you have that idea in your head that I have to do something with the cricket thing?
So it's very funny. So this is my second book. The first one also has to do something with cricket and royalty and all that. It was Bollywood, cricket, and politics. Somehow it was
pretty safe to sell.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. But this one, I got a call from my agent Anish Chandi. He's in Delhi, and he said that you've got to, check this news out. And this was last year in June or something, where really a bunch of Mehsana villagers played a fake IPL match.
So it says it's based on a true story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So this true story happened just last year, where a bunch of villagers in Mehsana gaye wo khet mein, and they did a fake IPL tournament and duped expert Russian gamblers of crores of rupees.
Wow. And we used to be friends.
Yes, yes, and the story just got crazier. Like the IPL was played after the actual IPL tournament was over last year, because the guy who was trying to stage one alongside IPL couldn't find a ground. Like he went to stadiums and couldn't find it, and in the end he just kind of raised the farm and chased the cows away and started playing there. So Ani said, this is like, I know you've got the chops for this, because I'm kind of interested in stories that are real but based on real and fiction, somewhere in the middle. And then he actually came to New York as well. So we were in a bar. I'm like, yeah, ho sakta hai, but we need to find out, like, how do we do research? Started calling a few people, and luckily got in touch with the officials in Mehsana, police officials in Ahmedabad.
I think you mentioned Inspector Chowda, is it?
Pragnesh Chowda,
yeah.
yes. So he was really supportive. He said that, I can share with you whatever officially I can share with you, but I can give you a lot more other, details.
Can I just interrupt you a second? What a great, and I say this with due respect, I'm not trying to endorse it and say, dude, what a great idea. I was just thinking about it as I started reading your book. What a great idea it is to mimic the IPL, control it completely, and then sort of get foreigners and others who are not so well versed with the cricket or whatever to bet on it. It's a win-win.
I don't have to say it, but I've said it many times. This is one of the few stories where you really, really want the bad guys to win, because it's just so creative.
Yeah.
And it's international, so it's in a very subversive way. I was like, India has arrived. Like, villagers in India are duping like Russian gamblers and
But let's face it, we are the best entrepreneurs in the world. I'm sorry to say, people should just accept it now.
Yes.
This is really thinking out of the box.
Yes.
And you've really run a lovely story here and everything, but the fact that the germ of the idea was actually attempted with some success or not is another point altogether. But and I won't give away the book. We don't want to give away the book at any point, is what happens. But that is the story.
That is the story. And the story, I don't want to give away the book, but it was all over the papers. It was actually in New York Times and Washington Post, and cricket never gets covered out there.
Yeah.
And when I saw in NYT that the story is there, I'm like, we've got to do something. So, and I agree with you. Like, my wife is a Gujarati. They're great business people, very smart people. In fact, I'm at CNBC and I spent some time with Charlie Munger, who just died.
Oh, wow. 99 batting.
99 batting. Exactly.
Phrase, yeah.
He said one thing.
I don't think you just threw it out there. I spent time with Charlie Munger. This is a connected man, bro.
Nicely, right? Nicely done. But the reason I mentioned him was he's like the Patels and the Motels. Like, you don't want to compete with them because they're just so smart. They live there. Their expenses will be cut off. You don't want to compete. So the point is, they're great business people, great minds. But the flip side is they're great minds in scamming as well. So there are
There's a line between being cunning and being fraudulent. No?
What
we call jugaad, and then it gets a little dirty and murky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a thin line. And a lot of us straddle, both ways.
But just amazing. See, I read the book, and the effect it had on me was not what swindlers. I was actually smiling like I am now. So I was thinking what a great idea it is. It is a good idea. Okay, it's a wrong idea in its entirety, but it's extremely interesting that the mind could come up with this, and you're thinking, why didn't I think of this?
Yeah.
On any level, even on a small level, you can, because you're basically controlling the game.
Yes, totally. I did question on, because I've seen those grainy footage on YouTube. So there are,
if it was a fair playing field.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
If it
yeah,
was a fair playing
yeah.
field, so I mean, it's a
No, but I understand the
genius
thinking.
idea.
That thinking,
Yeah.
even from our side of the border, if
Yeah.
we were to go into another sport which we're not familiar with, maybe NFL or whatever, and just bet on it because the romance of I know nothing about this, just pure gambler's luck.
Exactly.
So that thing is there. Sometimes knowing a little bit is a lot of pressure because you're always doing combinations and permutations and percentages in your head.
Yeah,
So you don't
It
do
kind of
that.
frees
So
you up.
it frees you up. No
that's
pressure.
it.
Yeah.
If it is a fair game, but it was
that,
all
that,
fixed.
That's like those mutual funds are subject to market risk. That's in the fine print.
Exactly.
You don't get that.
The other thing that I got interested was like there are many Hollywood, and I spent a lot of time with films, and that's my background. So there are many caper and heist films, right? Ocean's 11 and all that, right? But I'm like, okay, this is something like that, but such an Indian genius story, right? So it's like you used to do your days in MTV.
Yeah.
The Bakra was a really almost
it is
at
the
the
same
edge
concept.
of violence, right?
Yeah.
That Bakra
Could be, yeah.
Exactly, but the same version in Canada, and people will be like, oh, they get fooled and they're laughing and hugging and all. That wasn't the case with you.
Yeah,
So-
we had a few scrapes. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, you had a few scrapes, and that's what I mean. Like, what is a caper con film version of India, where the true crime version? It's not slick suits and all of that, but it's something else, and I want to kind of bring that out in the fiction part of it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've got lots of white collar crime, blue collar crime, but this is beyond that because I think first and foremost you've taken a subject which is honestly the most biggest, largest binding fabric of India, which is our love for cricket, and now IPL has hijacked everything else, which is top of the pile. But let's, as we look at the story, we're going to try and look at the story for the next half an hour or so without giving away too much. But there's some interesting facts which come in. We'll go into the characters as well. But first, I would like to talk about the fact that they have to get the uniforms right. There's a bit towards the second half where they have this discussion with the Darzi and all that about getting the uniforms right, and then they talk about how actually to us it just looks like blue for Mumbai Indians and maybe yellow for Chennai or whatever, but it is complicated to do. How important is this little detailing? Like you said, when you watch it, people are supposed to think this is actually
Yes. So that is correct. So they were mostly going after Russians. So what they've not.
But they do have the visual optics to compare.
Exactly. So the gamblers haven't watched IPL, but they might have seen IPL posters, or if you Google search, and you'll just see, okay, this is what generally the look of this is. So I think what they did was really smart. They did enough detailing. The colors were right. The contrast and all that was right. The designs was right. But the names were weird. So it was not Kolkata Knight Riders. It'll be like Kolkata, Riders or Gujarat Super Kings or something of that sort. So it was all, for a lazy eye, it was enough to pass off as real. So I thought that was like, we feel that how easy it is, that how stupid are the Russians to be falling for it. But there was just a lot of thought in it. And that.
And the racist angle that all Indians look the same. Everybody does that about the next lot.
Yeah, and we do the same. Yeah,
exactly. So these little things. Now you in the book, this I can give away. So that's done. Attention to detail is very important in that bit. Okay, for them to get that right. Because I think the selling point is in the first few seconds in a sense. Okay, let's rewind now. Let's start with, firstly, there's a lot of Russian in the book. I mean, not a lot, but enough. And I can't call your bluff on that. So, I'm reading it and I'm saying, okay. Yeah. And then you explained the word. The character said whatever he said. So how do you do, what is that, Google search? Or a little Russian? What's the story?
No, it was a bit of course, Google search and translation help and all of that. But I do have connections in Moscow through my job. Like I know folks and who were kind enough to spend some time.
That sounds very scary when you say that.
Yes,
I have connections in Russia.
Now especially, and this was before the war. Like this is so. I mean, they're great friends, business colleagues turned friends, and they're really interesting people because they spend a lot of time with the shady parts of the society, just as part of their job as well. So they were a big help. There are two folks who were big help in what the underground gambling scene looks like in Russia. Some of the, they know folks of mixed marriages. I don't know what do we call that, but Indians marrying
national.
Exactly.
What's it called? What's the right word? Help us, guys. International alliances.
Okay.
There you go.
We'll go with that.
Super.
Much more better sounding.
Yeah.
So how they speak and all that. So yes, a lot of research, but a lot of man on the
So
ground.
here's the
races
question.
as
I
well.
know the Russian mob was in the original authentic track that you base it on. But what is it with the Russian mob and gambling that they seem to be the apex predator in this business?
I mean, I have probably an example of one. So I won't say that I'm an expert on this, but a lot of, like when the Soviet collapsed, a lot of these apex predators in KGB and all were kind of
I
left
think
with
you sort of
nothing.
mentioned that as well. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that was based on
So
like
they're
a real
out
character.
of. They have some sort of sense of power which has been taken away from them.
Exactly.
And do they become the gangsters of that we hear of, or is that?
They do? Some of them do. I won't say, like, I won't paint
They-
everybody with the
yeah,
same
yeah,
brush.
yeah.
But suddenly you have this society collapse, and you've got one person with a lot of power and a lot of wits. And what do they do with all those, quote unquote talent? Maybe get into shady stuff. So yeah.
Right. And they're used to strong arm tactics, and so that part is already there. Not to mention the big man, whose name we shall not take, but that's already there, sort of in a subculture of their own.
Yeah.
But they take into gambling, and it's almost like they're all over the world. You think that they'd only be in Russia or perhaps in that Eurasian area and all that, but it's not.
It's not there. They are all over the world. In fact, now with online betting and all of that, it's just so much easier to spread your wings. That even this real case has more to it, where there are certain apps involved that are based in Russia, but there are versions of that in India, in all these countries. So it's very difficult to control once you're in the online world, and they're spread all over. Their money laundering scheme has been supercharged by Bitcoin. It's tough to tamp
No,
down. on this
I
stuff.
don't want to make it sound almost racist or anti-national towards the Russians or something. But do you think they had, for a long time, had this fixation with fixing things, and is that there? You think, or are we being too much?
Yeah, I think they're there everywhere. I mean, I wouldn't like, Eastern European. You find
Human
bad
nature.
guys.
We
Human
can
nature.
fix something
Exactly.
and get the profit out of it. Fair enough.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, that's what I feel.
And
I mean,
we second that.
Yeah, yeah, we do.
With
I
the
mean,
book Indian Punter League.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And there are cases of people being duped from Indian call centers in the U.S. and poor Indian immigrants are.
I
the
love watching those
victims.
YouTube videos where these American guys recatch our guys.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they've hacked into their system, reverse
It's just
hack.
madness. I mean, there are YouTube shows doing stuff that the police cannot do.
No.
I mean, it's just,
Police have no idea.
yeah. I just don't like it's Twilight Zone for me, really.
Technology has screwed everything up, because people are playing catch up who should be on top of their game. and
Yes.
It's horrible.
Yes. And with AI, it's just going to be even more like nobody has any clue on what's happening.
What if we
right?
don't use the cricketers? We just have people who play. I mean, robots or bots or whatever you want to call them.
I'm sure that's a sport somewhere, or maybe Russians are already
On
thinking
top of
that.
it. Hey man, you just gave them a free slip here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at the characters, the main ones firstly. We'll start with, because he's a very powerful influence in the first chapter itself, is this Petrov character, this very dark character who we've just mentioned just now. Again, based on a real guy.
Yep. Yep.
Name is close.
All Russian names sound the same.
Oh,
I'm
we
kidding.
abandoned Moscow
Oh
now,
gosh,
bro.
I'm kidding. No, not close.
Yes, now you
Yeah.
Paruski. I speak Russian. Yeah.
No, not close, but yes, based on real characters. Yeah.
So you have to find and research this guy out and all, and his background, etc. And because it's a very detailed sort of description of who he is, what he is, his personality,
Yeah.
and menacing, of course, from the moment he starts. Can I give this away? Because I found that quite funny. Not funny. It's quite not nice, a brutal act. But he shoots a rat. Scares the crap out of everybody.
Yes.
And then you talk about this whole thing about how they have these mice races. What is the right word?
Yes,
Tell us.
rat race,
Which-
quote unquote rat races,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So yes, this is a real sport where they race rats just like they would race a horse. So there are these miniature lanes, and the whole track is done. And the moment the fardock opens, they're off to the races. But obviously they're rats, so they don't know they're racing, and they're just all over the place. And somehow there's this more of a luck factor on who crosses the finish line first. There's a version of that in underground Russian casinos. There's no surprises here. A
this is
Japanese version of that as well.
Wow.
So the Japanese
So
love
this
that
is,
game
this is
too.
a real, I won't call it sport. What do you want to call it? Real pastime.
Yeah, a real pastime,
Yeah.
a real gambling game, parlor game, right? Of rats. So yeah, I had fun writing that scene because
it was a bit surreal. But it's real. Huh?
it is real. I've seen pictures. This is a while back, so I've seen pictures of those
Famous
races.
rats?
Famous rats. Yeah, the all-time champion. Squeaky was good. So
Igor Squeaky
Yeah.
Horace. Give him his full name.
yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So yes, and there are other scenes where I'm like, should I put this in? This sound too too fantastical.
Again, I'm trying not to give away moments because they're all lovely moments in the book.
Yeah.
But there's one which I have to. The whole rat thing, where he fixes it by using cocaine. Can we tell this bit?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
We can tell that
Yeah,
bit where
So it's a fat rat.
it's a fat
I mean,
rat.
it's really
Yeah.
surreal, but it makes sense at the same time. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So Fezal, our protagonist, just looks
Yeah.
for the fattest rat there and
Yeah.
bets all the money
Yeah.
in there because there's some food involved in that as well. But the only thing is he lined his track with cocaine,
Right.
and that just gives you as humans a compulsive.
It's his Ben Johnson moment. The rats.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a very nice way to put it. I never thought about it.
Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah,
It's just-
exactly.
I mean, it's the Olympics for rats,
Exactly.
and this guy's cheating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, that's 90s,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
love that. So yeah, it's he becomes a compulsive sniffer, and the fattest rat just races past the finish line and wins. And Petrov, the Russian guy, is really angry. And this was his Fezal's way of showing what he can do. So
His
that they can move
introduction
on
in
to
a
bigger
sense.
things. Exactly.
To
Yeah.
Petrov and to Shom. Yeah, the
Exactly.
audition is a better word. Yeah.
Yeah. It was an audition. Yes.
So let's just come back to Petrov for a second. So Petrov is the guy they have to convince. Please tell me how much we can give away.
Yeah.
Convince to sort of fund the operation. Because they've got this whole orchestrated
Yeah.
theatre production which they're going to do.
Yep.
And on top of that, he's the guy who's going to be calling the shots and ultimately making money through bookmakers under him, etc., etc.
Exactly. So more than funding, which was important, I think Petrov had access to the end customer, the end bakra,
Yeah.
the gamblers, right? So
No,
they
in this case,
wanted-
Bakra is correct because they're
Exactly.
fixing the whole thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they needed his connections. They needed the fat cats
Yeah.
that Petrov held in his underground casino to bet on. So that is what was important. So I think regardless of whether he's Russian or not, more important is he's the one who had the connections of getting high rollers in
The
a
way you've
building.
written it, Abhishek, it's almost like there is no villain in a
Yeah.
sense because this is a world.
Yeah.
You leave judgment aside.
Yeah.
They're all like entrepreneurs, and
Yes.
there's just different forms of enterprise which is being
Yeah.
done by X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And in many, if you look at it from that point of view without judgment, it's actually like almost like an MNC functioning. They've got all this happening, and this guy is the international wing, and he's very important.
Yes.
Maybe 51% equity.
Yeah, Now that's a great observation because nobody has mentioned it to me, but there really are no villains in there.
I'll tell you this.
Although it's full of villain thing.
No,
but
when they
it
read the
isn't.
book, this is
Yeah.
the feeling. Look, I may be wrong, but when you read this book,
Yeah.
you're not angry with anyone.
Yeah.
There's no real anger. It's almost like there's almost admiration, honestly. And, well, I don't want to give away the second half and all, but read the book because it's not about black and white. It doesn't hit you like that.
Yeah,
So,
and I only half joke that because nowadays books are all about, like there are a lot of business books and self-help books. If you read it in a way, there are real business lessons in there as well.
Yeah.
Because they are all entrepreneurs. They are all ingenious ways of doing things, and so you're right. Like people management and whatnot. If that's what people like, they should read into it.
There you go. It's a lesson in the lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to take a break in a second, but when we come back, we have to talk about Fezal, who's the protagonist. It's fair to say. There's Vimla, who's very important to the thing. There's Disco, and there may be a couple of others who we'll talk about as well. This is the cast, and we'll take a quick break. In the meantime, take a look at this book, which will change your life. I wish it was true. No, I don't wish it was true, but if it was, I mean, what a great way to make money, honestly.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by author Nasreen Munni Kabir. She shares her experience of writing books on cinema legends like Gurudutt, A.R. Rahman, Wahida Rahman and Lata Mangeshkar. She further shares her experience of producing shows for Shah Rukh Khan and some hilarious examples of Hindi film subtitles gone wrong. On A Century of Stories, Kunal Vijaykar narrates the captivating tale of India's 10th Prime Minister, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Revisit the pages of history highlighting Atalji's contribution to the freedom struggle, his impactful speech at the UN, and his historic role in fostering peace between India and Pakistan. Folks, if you like our shows, spread the word. Tell your friends and don't forget to rate and review them wherever you're listening to them. Follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You'll also find all our shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week, Omidyar Network India, Abbott, IDFC First Bank, and Save Life Foundation. Thank you for making this possible. And finally, we would like to thank all our listeners and viewers a very happy New Year.
All right, Abhishek is still with us. We were racing rats in the break for a second. Can't believe that's like a... can you believe people take that so seriously? I mean, bet millions of dollars.
They bet millions on rats, bet $1 million on when it's going to rain. They'll in
What is
the
with
US.
us?
Yeah, they
Did
in
you
the
research this? What is with us human beings? Why do we do this?
Kind of bored. We are.
Is
I
it?
think it's bored.
Or is it the fact that we actually are romantics who really believe that lottery aayegi ek din, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of folks. I've spent a lot of time in Singapore, and there's a big gambling culture, lottery culture there, bigger than India for sure. Just generally amongst Chinese. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, why do you pick up the lottery ticket? You just pick it up and you forget about it, right? Because you have that 1% chance in your heart that without working for it, something's going to happen for you.
Yes.
You're God's special child.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And even if you're not even if you're not a lottery person, you'll
What's
be
the harm?
lying if you've never
what's
thought about it. Saying,
Can
"Let
you
me just
imagine
buy
you're
it."
like, Mukesh Ambani or, Charlie Munger you mentioned, and even they quietly just go down. And who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get back to the book here. So it's called Indian Punter League. We've got Petrov. Again, I don't want to say villain. I think that's a really stupid way of just dismissing someone black and white terms because nothing is like that in the book. Let's go to Fezal because he's the most important. Tell us who Fezal is.
So Fezal is a, he's had a tough life in rural India as a farm laborer. Wasn't really lucky in terms of family as well. Lost his father early, and there are many such cases, obviously. But what I really liked about this character is the fire in the belly. Now again, let's leave aside what he did.
Yeah.
Because that's another conversation altogether. But I just love characters who are ambitious. Like you want to, because the moment that comes in, the moment the ambition comes in, there's conflict. Because the world is not going to throw everything at you on a platter.
Also, he's not from the right side of the road, and yet he won't limit himself, which is rare.
Exactly.
You sort of believe your own karma in a sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he's kind of multi-talented. Like he's not only swindles people, but he's got some real talent, in terms of selling stuff or, technology and all of that. So
Except with romance.
that is he was kind of abusive, to be honest. So yes.
So he doesn't deserve.
He deserves, for sure. On that front, yes.
He deserves not to have a relationship, is what you're saying.
Yes, he deserves to lose the girl. To be, you just cannot do that. Yes, yeah. You can charm your way.
So this character, Abhishek, again, please don't give anything away, but this character is completely your character. I mean, I can't believe that you had anything to go on with this kind of character. This character is very created by you.
Yeah.
Is different levels, different layers to him. Some not so nice, but most of them very interesting.
Yeah.
This? May I ask anyone we know from your life or something?
I think it's a combination of a lot of people we all know, right? I mean, we all know folks who are ambitious. We all know folks who are in, terrible in relationships as well. So somewhere, there's a real person. You get inspired by what you see, the good and the bad. So although the character is made up, I won't say it's just like too far out or something of that sort. Yeah.
Yeah. But coming back to his role in the entire thing, would you say that so he is the guy who comes up with this entire scheme?
He's the
Which
guy.
means we give him the credit as the genius?
I would say that. Like I'm a writer, you're a creative as well, and there are business people. You have that bolt of inspiration, right? There might be a show idea, or I have a product idea, or I have a story idea, and it's something you can't explain. Suddenly you just feel that maybe this thing is right. He had that thing. He was working in that underground casino. He saw one part of it, which is the gamblers gambling on just weird stuff. And then, he saw IPL and he just put two and two together. So that's where the idea originated from. And I just feel that, we should give him the credit. There are a lot of other crooks who
because at the end of the day, there's one guy who's come up with the scheme. Immediately after that, everybody says, okay, I like the idea. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then it gets lost in that multitude of people involved.
Yeah.
But frankly speaking, he's the guy. He's the entrepreneur. He's the guy with the single-minded idea that first to the table.
Yeah.
Because like I said, when you read this book, the first thing you're going to see is, why didn't I think of that? Especially if you're stuck at your job and, money's not coming in and the recessions hit you and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just a fantastic idea. Again, morally, we're not saying it's right.
Yeah.
But, it's a bit grey also in that sense. Why are you gambling? For example.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But bad on you.
Yeah, bad
do
on you
your
in a
research.
sense. You should go doing a normal job and just, working hard for what you get. But
Yeah, exactly. And it was not just the idea, because, ideas are dime a dozen.
Yeah.
I can sit here and, spit
come
out
up with
4.
something. Yeah.
He then goes on to actually make a team. Like it really is.
And tell folks what the planning is very intricate, okay?
Yeah,
And it sounds great, but you can't just. I mean, there's so much to do. First, go ahead. We have to find the cricketers first and foremost.
To find the cricketers, we had to find.
They've got to be authentic. They've also got to be able to accept the script.
Yes.
And you'll have to figure out how to coordinate this reaction from them as and when. Because
exactly. So this is based on like real research that I felt that it's almost like
so where a police commissioner comes in?
Yes, he does. Because it was almost like they were training camps before they actually did the tournament. And this I can say that this is all based on real stuff. But when I read that report and when, the description, I always felt it was like a reverse Lagan. Right, you're paid to do badly. Like you're putting a team together of like misfits, right? It's like Amir Khan going to 11 players, but you're asking them to play badly in a convincing manner. So their practice sessions were like, how do you get out while looking authentic, or how do you bowl badly while looking authentic?
So here the whole point is like how they say good actors can do bad acting, bad actors can't do good acting. So you've got to have people who can actually play properly for them to play.
Exactly.
Down.
Exactly.
In a sense.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah.
So it was tough. Like you cannot just pick anybody up. So he had to kind of, they need to know batting to know what it takes to fake a, whatever. So so he had to do that. He had to get a financier, to get bankroll this whole operation. He had to make, he needed a guy to move money somehow because of whatever the hawala and all that. He was not an expert. And then, tech support. Streaming, media.
You forget it's the modern world. It's
exactly.
very important.
Yes, because the whole thing was done on YouTube.
Which brings us to Vimla.
Yes. So Vimla is a combination of what I've seen just generally.
Why did you go with the female thing? Is there a reason? I'm not saying that you can't go with the female character, but I just felt that why would the female be there and then suddenly, she makes sense.
Yeah.
But because this is a dark world.
Yeah. I mean, that was a creative call I wanted to make saying,
You grew up with a Vimla you didn't like and you wanted to punish her.
No, I just wanted to give equal opportunities to women in being bad.
What a superb, right? That's a great answer. That's a superb, that's the more woke answer of 2023. Yeah.
Yes. So that was the reason. And I also seen like, there's in China and slowly in India it's coming up, this whole going back to rural and, streaming the rural life and all that. So I just felt that I wanted Vimla to be, a YouTube star, not from the metros, but somewhere outside.
But now they're not from the metros. You're spot on, I would think.
Exactly.
We sit here, most of the new YouTube stars are all coming from the B towns and C towns because the identification is there.
Yes.
It's not so much,
Exactly. So I might be a little behind the curve on that.
No, you're right in front.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right. I mean, I wanted Vimla to be that. I wanted a smart female who can do the job as good as anyone and just, this is not in a way that, I want to show equality and all, but there's a real case for a woman to do that job for sure because they've been doing it in real life too. So, yeah.
And at the end of the day, there's a lot of people involved in this. This is the gang of 4 or 5 that we're talking about. There's a lot of people involved. There will be some females involved. Men are not the only borderline criminals in the world.
Yes.
You want equality, ladies?
Yes.
Just face the truth. You're as bad as us. And there are 3 women in the audience here who are giving me dirty looks right now. Abhishek may not be able to go back. His wife's already upset. No, just kidding. All right, so now let's get to Disco.
Yep.
Who's beautifully named.
Yep.
He's a linguist. You've used a very interesting term which to highlight a chapter.
Yeah.
The cunning linguist. I
Yeah,
guess.
the linguist.
Couldn't
So-
figure that out.
Yeah, I just felt like I know a few linguists for
Yeah.
sure, and this is all the Russians I've met of a certain age talk about Bollywood movies,
They do.
and
The
all
Raj
the young
Kapoor
ones
and all the,
exactly
the old ones.
Yeah, Mithun was
And now
huge.
Shah Rukh.
Yeah, not so much. So
No?
the younger ones. Not so much. I know
how
what
sad.
happened are like ex-Soviet for some reason.
Wait till they see Animal.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that would be. Yeah, they'll bring back the Bollywood
Yeah.
charm. So, so I wanted to kind of explore that a little bit. Just at least mention it. A lot of people forget what Russia and India relationships were like, how big the stars were there. I mean, this is a different
A
generation.
lot of them could sing our songs apparently without speaking the language at all,
Yes.
but we would sing it correctly.
Exactly.
Like, Mera
Exactly.
Juta Hai Japani and those kind of songs.
Yeah, and if
Perfect.
they are like 40, 45 plus, they would do all of that. The moment you meet a 20-year-old Russian,
You're like-
he has no clue what Bollywood, like
Yeah.
nothing. So
he thinks we're China.
exactly, exactly. So I wanted to explore that and explore a typical, because I've been around in a few countries and I've seen the Indian immigrant life, right from Sundar Pichai to way down. So that was the inspiration for this show, that I wanted to see what that hard life looks like, while they still feel like they're living a charmed life, really.
So what do we call him? The HR guy? What would he be in this setup?
He's the
He's like the conduit.
he's the conduit.
Yeah.
He's literally the translator, but in not just in terms of the language translator, but a
Keeping them
translating of
together.
ideas.
Yeah.
Exactly. So communication was his key role. Even while you see, and because this is like a heist movie, there's this overall planning, but then there's minute by minute and second by second planning when you go to the second half of the book. He played a key role in being that chain, where they could get all the gamblers and the players all on the same table. So yeah, I felt that.
So
it was
in a sense,
important role.
he's the foot in the Russian syndicate. He's the guy who's liaisoning with them.
Exactly, and he's the guy who is taking an Indian game and making it come alive to a bunch of Russians, so that they feel that they are in the game.
He's the Lalit Modi of Russia. Because he's
Yeah.
sort of the
Yeah, exactly.
Pushed
Because
it.
imagine the game's happening in Mehsana in a farm, and these guys are sitting underground in Moscow. Like, how do
Wow.
you connect? So
This
I
is
felt-
globalization. This is what Narasimha Rao was talking about in the 90s. I'm so proud. We
Yes.
finally reached.
And Mithun's the guy to bring it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mithun, yeah. Mithun was
that
the-
dream came alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I felt that it takes a certain kind of person to just bring things to life and convince and communicate and all that. So that was that character. Yeah.
There are other characters, of course. Many we won't have time to go through everyone. There's a little bit of that Bhimji character, the like Gunda,
Yes.
Because I'm trying to think about what would be the real, the real characters from the incident, which are sort of reflected. And he seems like someone that's probably the inspector, the commissioner of police who, took you through things.
Yeah.
Was this a real character?
Yes,
Local
they're
mafia.
local strongmen.
Yeah, strongmen.
Right? Yeah, local strongmen. You will see it. Like so I went to Mehsana. I for the research of this book, I met with people. I had to meet some shady people.
Mehsana's a
as well.
character in this book because the Mehsana is where it all starts.
Yes.
So it's very strong. The geography is like a character.
Yeah. Yes. Because I like fell in love with that place and the people there.
It's just the wife's hometown.
Yeah. No, not.
I thought perhaps Jagir Wagir milega baad mein, kuch nahi.
No, Ahmedabad is also great.
Yeah.
I love that city too.
Yeah.
But so Mehsana is a character in the book because the kind of scams that come out of that place.
You mentioned that. I didn't want to say that because
yes.
I don't want it to sound like we're being prejudicial in any way.
No.
But
No.
it's almost like praise again. It's not really so. It's
not.
like,
I
don't know.
have only love.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a character, and I spent time in Loni, which is close to Shirdi. I've spent time in some villages, and there's always a strong man.
Yeah.
And that's Bhimji. Like
Yeah.
that terror. Like
You got the Gujarati gali spot on, huh?
Yeah.
I'll only use Gel Chodia, which is acceptable. A couple of them are too strong for our podcast. But is that the wife calling you on a daily basis, or
No,
you just
but-
pick that up from listening to people?
Picked that up from listening to people, not from my wife or anybody from our
Not
family.
yet.
No.
Early marriage.
Yeah. No. But yeah, I love Gujarati galis. I just love them. And
No, I love that scene in the car where they start abusing, and they actually it almost goes in ascending order.
Yeah.
It starts
Yes.
with a tame gali. I won't say what the words, and then the next one, and the next one, and then it ends with the highlight of India where you
Yeah.
abuse the mother
Yes.
relationship with the son, which
Yes.
is across the board the same. So,
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, there's again, I'm just pissing one city after the other. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying-
No, you're not.
Yeah. There's some-
It's an homage. It's an
Yeah.
homage.
It-
We have to
it-
understand that what you've done and unearthed it. It's
Okay.
very charming.
Okay.
None of us are looking down and watching this. We are laughing, but it's true.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
piss on that.
Yeah.
I think Surat is another city I saw in some time, and where you just they just use galis out of love, like
Yeah.
just for no reason. There's a gali in every other word, every other sentence. So yeah, I enjoyed writing the dialogue for this. My first book was nothing like this, so this really freed me up to play in language. That's all.
You bring that up. When I was in New York for 4 months many years ago studying acting, which of course didn't help, there's a Pakistani guy with me, and we were friends. You start, whoever's close to you become friends very quickly.
Yeah.
We used to play this game. We'd go into these shops, mostly run by Koreans and all those corner shops, and use galis, but in a very Tamiz way, like MC sir,
Yeah.
and just we would be giggling. I mean, so childish because we're so lonely there and we're out of we didn't have any friends.
Yeah.
So we'd say MC sir, can you
Yeah.
play in broken English, and we'd purposely do all that.
Yeah.
It's just
And
stupidity. but,
exactly. We
yeah.
spend some time just inventing new gali
Yeah.
words.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's another game.
Yeah.
So totally.
Wow, give me a new.
I may be like one straight beep. So let's
Is it?
not go there.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we won't go to the second half too much because that's where it all plays out. And obviously it's a suspense. It's a proper heist film, as you said. So you'll be wondering what's happening. What's the outcome of this? I would think, having read the book and I've just read it, that you're backing, as you said in the beginning, you're backing the guys to win. And they are, unlike, say, Ocean's 11, where they're like good, bad guys, but these are guys who are just doing fraud. That's what it is, end of the day. But they're all endearing at
Yeah.
some point.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that that's something that you intentionally would have done? Or it just happens that all the characters turn out to be quite endearing and you don't want any one of them to lose?
Yeah, I know it just happened. Like I get into characters a lot, and at some time you just kind of forget what the morality of it and just enjoy the ride, right? So you feel that while you're watching as well. I felt that while I was writing. I really wanted them to win. This is not. I mean, it's a book. It's entertainment, and it's a character study for sure. But in the end, you're just having fun, right? So yeah, why not? Like write something where you want the
Okay,
bad guys to
I
win.
don't give away the ending, but let's say you're writing 2 hours a day while you're writing. Does Mansi or do you have a support group that sort of you bounce off as you come towards the end? This is how we'll go. This is what I'm planning.
I do bounce off ideas, and my wife is a great partner, first reader. I have a few friends. By the way, I have to say that a lot of people say writing is a very lonely, that romanticized way of
That's in the urinal.
Yeah.
I paid here. That's a loser on his own.
Yeah, exactly. I find it almost communal. I have a lot of early readers where they, give me feedback, and I just feel that, it makes me a little less lonely in
So what
writing.
happens with the feedback? When you're talking to a lot of people, then you're not going to take everything in.
I won't take everything in, but generally what happens is I feel uncomfortable about something, but I'm not too sure. And then when I hear feedback, like 4 people saying the same thing, that this is wrong. So you need so it's like a pulse check, really.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't take all of it. I'd probably take 20% of it, and for the better, like it makes the book better. So
it's almost like online editing. Not like you're cutting everything to pieces, but you're doing it on a almost daily basis, is it? This is a patch. Take a look. This is a patch.
with some folks, I do it on a daily basis because I do write fast and I get a lot of things done. And just move. I want to move on to next and come back later. So I do it daily, but then write towards the end of the editing process. I give it to somebody who reads the whole thing and gives a overall feedback. Yeah.
So Mansi should get a credit, by the way. Let me just check that book. Is her name there? The
It
credit
is
is there
there.
from you, but is
Yeah.
there credit on top?
I write the credit first and then write the book.
You have to go back home, though. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Westland, your fault. Yeah. The big question, I don't think it's a moral question, but do you think, and again, I'm not saying that this is on you, your responsibility or anything like that, but do you think for a second that when you do a book like this, it's going to spawn a lot of people thinking, what the hell, let's get on with this idea? And instead of Russian, I'll find Nepalese or Chinese or Bangladeshi or German or whatever.
Yeah.
Mafia.
I feel they'll do regardless, and they'll right now as we speak, people are coming
It's
up
too
with
big.
better ideas, right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't think too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel there are enough bad ideas percolating somewhere.
Well, let's not call them bad ideas. They're creative ideas. The judgment call is for the people.
Yes,
honestly.
exactly.
Because this is a very. I like this book from the point of view that it's a good feeling book. It's not a sinister book. I thought it would be. The first 2 pages, Petrov, the rats, this, that, and the other. The setup is dark, and then it just becomes they're endearing.
Yeah.
That's the word that comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should get any judgment call. You leave a judgment hat. It's a little gray area in any case. I'm still saying you get 80% points for your enterprise and your spirit and your thinking, and many of them are coming from the wrong side of the road, and so it's not easy. And then 20% for okay.
Yeah.
Like we said, they're gamblers anyway. It's not like the upright citizens of the world.
I think somewhere, it's a way of justifying, right? Somewhere in the book, Fezal says that this is a victimless crime. Like that's how you justify yourself, and that's how
You've not murdered anyone. You've not
Exactly.
physically harmed anyone in that sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know it's reasoning with yourself and do that, but I like that feeling in a reader where you're like, why am I cheering for them? I want that subversive bend.
Well, when
really.
your stock tanks,
Yeah.
it's similar in a sense, right? It's a victimless crime, but you've lost money. So, I mean, we can look at it that way if you want.
Yeah.
But the next question I have to ask you before we wrap up, and that is, it's not I wouldn't say it's a metaphor for what's really happening, but are you at all cynical about cricket in general, sport in general, that there's a lot of fixing going on? Is that in the back of your mind also? I think we grew up at the same time, so we've seen the game lose its innocence to some extent. The actual game I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So is that in your head?
I'm kind of naive. Like I don't like the pragmatic side of me, at least for cricket and IPL or Indian cricket, says that boy, it would take like billions of dollars to fix a game because look at the salaries, look at the auction that's happening. Like, what are you up against? So
and involve so many more players, because I don't think 1 or 2 could do it.
Exactly.
You need maybe half the team.
Exactly. It's just too much.
So one guy scores 80 of 25 balls or something, and then screws up the planning.
Yeah. So I feel
I tried it.
Yeah. So
you're not a cynic.
Yeah, I'm not a cynic. I love sports.
So this is in no means some sort of like metaphor that in actuality the real game is also
no. I think I'm more worried about. I mean, when it comes to cricket, I'm just more worried about the growth of the game and the business side of it.
You mean the club franchise killing the international game?
No. I mean, I love the club franchise as well. It's just that more people should pick up the sport, right? Like more countries should pick up.
Oh,
the sport.
that way. But that
yeah.
Little bit is happening. We can see with like Afghanistan has really gone places. But that's because they're close to us. So I guess there's a familiarity, identification.
Yeah.
But Kenya has gone down completely, for example. Zimbabwe gone down completely.
That's the problem. Like it's just not like I've been.
Where are your Chinese friends?
Where are our Chinese friends?
That would change it. And America? Actual Americans?
No.
We have one American girl in the women's IPL. Actual American.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's been picked up by one of the franchises. Last time round, she's still there.
Got it.
But that's one.
Got it.
But I think that's a great sign. I don't know where she came from.
Yeah, I mean but it's just that it needs to happen like on a very large scale.
How do we beat you Americans in your 3 sports or whatever? I mean, you live in your insular world with your Joe Biden.
Yeah. No, but there is a like I get pissed because
it's all Desis who play there.
Yeah.
Desis and maybe the odd West Indian guy and things like that.
Yes, that's the issue. But then when I see like pickleball becoming big suddenly, I'm like, what is that?
What is that?
Why? So they're doing something smart, and I think we should be doing that too. And being India, like we are like the custodian of the sport, and we should be
there's a
aggressive.
school of thought that says that T10 will be the big thing for international new countries and new cultures, because this is much shorter.
Yeah.
But still more like their games ka time.
Yeah, I mean, I think T20 is also their games ka time. Frankly, it's kind of
3.5
there.
hours.
It's around the ballpark if you tighten it up a little bit.
How much is a baseball game?
It's about there. It's about
Takes
the
3 hours?
T20. Yes, exactly.
Oh, okay.
So and there's so much skill involved. Like, I mean, I always compare baseball and cricket, and I talk with my friends who are Americans, and they're just flabbergasted at our fielding part of it. Like that's the best thing that has happened through T20.
It's really improved.
Like you're doing that without gloves, without mitts, and I'm like, dude, you know,
The catches off the boundary where they jump
exactly.
and jump back.
They lab it
what
out.
American can do that?
Yeah.
Challenge.
There's in fact a YouTube channel where
that?
professional baseball player just looks at cricketers and comments on that, and they're like gets millions of views, and I get it why, because it's kind of fascinating to them. Anyways, I feel that we should just be more aggressive. I really think
marketing.
in marketing the game and in spreading the game and in investing in the game, because I'm at the forefront of sports and business in my job, and when I see pickleball coming up, it pisses me off. Really.
It's amazing how you mentioned that. Even I went and saw South Bombay Club. They played it, and I was like, doesn't look that great to me.
Yeah.
With due respect, but everybody's interested.
Yeah, I mean, go play.
And older people are coming out as well.
I know. So
Is it because pickle sounds like prickle or something? Is there some sexual innuendo I'm not getting?
I feel like I've seen in my city where we have tennis courts. They go away and they put 6 pickleball courts, so it's really personal. Maybe I'm getting pissed because of that.
Yeah.
But I think
we're
there's
old-fashioned. We like our old cricket, our old tennis,
exactly.
the old way.
So maybe, but yeah, I mean, jokes aside, like I feel that's what I'm more worried about than fixing and all of that. And that's a bigger problem, to be honest. Yeah, you need to kind of figure out your gambling laws and what's online gambling. Even US is struggling with that. Like what?
But they've had scams in all those major sports.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, FIFA.
Human nature, bro. I think this is the way it is.
It's always there. Yeah. So just take it.
There's a Petrov and a Fezal Ahmed amongst all of us. It's not like
maybe in
new.
this room somewhere.
There's a guy. This guy, I don't trust this guy at all.
He's got the look.
He bets on the podcast ending in 30 seconds, and he might be right. But let's just unwind with a little bit of your personal life. So what do you do now? You're basically a New Yorker now who grew up here and then went to Singapore, China, etc. How do you relax? How do you unwind? What's your life like?
It's that's a good question.
Do you play cricket and all?
No, I don't play that often.
You're not one of those desi guys with the team and all that?
No, I know those folks, but I don't. I think just a good book is what relaxes me, really. I'm not too proud to say that I've been watching less TV and less movies. I hope to kind of, add on to that. But right now, relaxing is just, I've got a 6-year-old who's nowadays into swimming and all of that. So I finished my work.
Life's finished.
Yeah.
Abhishek. You should not have mentioned that.
Yes.
Is that a boy or a girl?
It's a boy.
You're finished.
Yeah.
You better keep your back in shape. For the next 8-9 years, you're going to be playing coach. You're going to be catching things, dropping things, picking and dropping. Oh, your life's finished.
Yes. I'm not looking forward to that, to be honest. But yeah, it's just going to his games and just sitting, doing nothing.
What does he play?
Good. He's into swimming. Like
he's
in
swimming.
He's in a swim team. He's
Wow.
a 6-year-old, and like he likes
Such
it.
a competitive country, no?
Yeah.
6-year-old, he's already in the swim team.
Yeah.
You better be good.
Yeah, maybe
Your
we are
parents
becoming
cheering.
that. I used to.
You're American.
Why?
You can't help it.
Yeah, I think I am becoming that. But maybe he likes it. I'm not sure. Like if he says no, we'll say fine.
You're in Rome, do as the Romans do. That's fine.
Yeah,
it's a great sport. What's wrong with that?
Yeah,
it's the most
good.
perfect sport for building his physique.
Exactly. And he loves water. Whenever we go out, we usually have to go to a beach place because of him. He'll spend probably 12 hours in water. Like he'll go to the beach first, we come to the hotel, he'll spend another 3 hours in the pool. So I think, I don't think we are forcing him to do anything. But
He could be the next generation Baywatch, David Hasselhoff. Not with that lifestyle, but
the Indian version of Baywatch.
Indian version,
cool. Yeah, that'd
be owning a few motels on the side and all. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Totally different experience.
Yes.
Yeah. So excellent. So you're a young father, you got that. So is there a book in the pipeline? Fair question to ask.
Yeah, fair. I mean, there are always like 3 or 4 ideas swimming around.
So you've been bitten by the bug now. So you're not going to stop.
Yeah,
and you're running your corporate job is like a hugely responsible job. Young father, family, all that. And you still have to find time to write now.
I think I'll continue. Yes, I think so. It's tough. Like there were days where I really was questioning on why am I doing this, because there's a deadline at work and at the. But as long as I can manage it.
And it's not a passive profession. Mm-hmm. It's an active profession. You're fully on, It's like draining in a way also. It's not like you can just, I'll do 20 minutes of writing and feel good.
Yeah, especially this one. Like it was like I had to do research, like almost like a journalist or something. It's not just anything I just, So it was like a full-time, like it was very active. And the story was changing while I was writing. So maybe that's the reason. Maybe I'd go back to something which is, a little
You think you'd ever switch and this become your real profession?
I'd love to at some point, but the thing is, I like having two. Like, maybe I'm a Gemini, but I like 4 things at a time. It kind of takes me
Mansi?
Yeah, for
Suke
different. Yeah, yeah. So
Be very careful, my friend. I'm from a line of lawyers, but my dad is no more, so I don't know if we can
oh
help you.
boy,
Yeah.
yeah. 4 professions at a time. I like that. It's just it feeds into the other. At least that's what it is right now. Might change. We'll see.
Well, I suppose it's also therapeutic in some way because you get off the pressure from one, and one is the lovey one, and not that you don't like what you're doing, but you know what I'm saying, that there's hard pressure, there's softer pressure, and so maybe that works that way.
Yeah, agree. And maybe you have a shitty day writing, and you have a great day at office.
So you're like the all-rounder in cricket.
Yeah.
Lost with the bat, done well with
I
the ball.
used to. Yes, I used to.
You were
bowl
really all-rounder.
and bat. I wasn't good at any of them, but I was equally bad at both. So that was good. Yeah.
A genuine all-rounder.
Yes, a genuine all-rounder. Yes.
What they call the fall-rounder.
Yeah, that'll catch on. Yeah.
All right, so you're not telling us about what the germ of idea is for the next book, but we will find out because he's going to write something soon. It'll be out soon, so you have to check it out. But in the meantime, the book is called, here it is, Indian Punter League. And as we say bye, final question, is it, are there talks about Bollywood being interested? Is this correct?
There is. It's been optioned, and there's a team working on it already.
Wow.
I wish I could have kind of announced, but they want to do a bigger announcement fairly soon.
Yeah.
So it's always good to see,
that puts you another level altogether immediately.
Yeah, and
moment
it's
that comes out.
yeah, I like that. I mean, I like the fact that even my first book was kind of adapted. So I like the fact that it can translate into different mediums.
So that's 2 films in a row.
We'll see. Unless I don't get into some sort of a development hell where dates are not there and whatnot. But hey, if it works out, it works out.
Don't worry, we'll pirate the copy and do it ourselves then.
Let's do that.
It's a small OTT that I know around the corner.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Very cool.
There you go. It's called Indian Punter League. Go and buy it, please. Very interesting read. Very quick read. Very fast-paced. Lots of things happening. Very endearing characters. Enjoyed it a lot. And I don't even read anymore because, I've reached that age where YouTube has taken over and it's 10 seconds. So this is great.
Yeah.
All right?
Thank you. Thanks
Slice
for
of real
having
life.
me. It was a fun chat.
All right, Abhishek. How much you make last year? Just kidding.